In life, the signs are often subtle. The small jabs, the smiles that don't reach the eyes, the excuses that come too easily. People may not always be honest about their feelings, but their actions betray the truth. It's easy to ignore these signs, to convince yourself that everything is fine. But deep down, you know something's off. That gut feeling, it's real. And if left unchecked, these hidden slights can erode your confidence, drain your energy, and waste your precious time on people who don't value you. This video isn't about blame, it's about clarity. It's about learning to recognize the subtle cues so you can protect your energy, stand up for your worth, and choose relationships that empower you. Stoicism teaches us to control what we can and let go of what we can't. In this case, it's about taking back control of your life by seeing the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Stick with me through this video, and I'll walk you through the signs you might be missing. If any of these resonate, share your experience in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like these, because clarity, once achieved, is the foundation of a strong, resilient life. Number 1. Never apologize. How can a man avoid making mistakes if he never learns from them? This question, rooted in Stoic philosophy, invites us to reflect on one of the most telling behaviors that reveal the truth about someone's character: the refusal to apologize. In life, we all encounter people who, no matter what happens, never seem to find fault in their actions. But have you ever wondered why? What is it about saying sorry that some people find so difficult? And what does it say about their view of themselves and of you? I remember a time when I was part of a small group of friends that would meet at a local cafe every Friday afternoon. Among them was someone everyone considered charismatic, witty, and always in control. He had a way of making his presence felt, and at first I admired his confidence. But over time, something started to nag at me. There were moments when his actions hurt others' comments made in poor taste, thoughtless jokes, or even forgetting promises he'd made. Yet despite the discomfort it caused, he never apologized. Instead, he'd brush it off with a laugh or deflect the conversation to someone else's shortcomings. This pattern became obvious. He was never wrong. And if he was, it wasn't his fault. One Friday, he made a cutting remark about a project I had been working hard on at work. The comment stung. The others in the group noticed, but no one said anything. After the meeting, one of our friends pulled me aside and said, "That wasn't cool, but you know him, he's never going to say he's sorry." His inability to apologize had turned into a running joke among us. But it wasn't funny anymore. It was toxic. This brings us to a crucial principle from Stoicism: personal responsibility. According to the Stoics, to be truly free and in control of your life, you must first accept accountability for your actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In refusing to apologize, he was dodging responsibility. His ego was too fragile to admit fault, and his pride was more important than the relationships around him. A person who never apologizes isn't just protecting their ego, they're signaling something much deeper. They don't see you as important enough to repair the damage they've caused. They would rather maintain their self-image than acknowledge the hurt they've inflicted. This is the hallmark of someone who doesn't respect the people around them. Apologies, when sincere, are about rebuilding trust, showing vulnerability, and reinforcing mutual respect. In a world that values strength and confidence, we often forget that the real strength comes from humility. The Stoics understood this well. To own up to your mistakes is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength because it shows that you are not afraid to confront your imperfections. It's a recognition that you are constantly evolving, that the journey towards virtue is one of constant refinement. When someone refuses to apologize, they remain stagnant, stuck in a fixed mindset that denies personal growth. Think about it like this. A relationship is like a bridge. Apologies are the beams that hold that bridge steady, especially after a storm. Without them, the bridge weakens, and eventually it collapses under its own weight. If someone is unwilling to put in the effort to repair that bridge, they're showing you that it's not worth much to them in the first place. So what's the practical takeaway here? The next time someone refuses to apologize, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or even a family member, Don't just brush it off. Ask yourself what this refusal says about how they value the relationship. Are they unwilling to acknowledge their mistakes because they care more about their pride than they do about you? And more importantly, are you allowing this behavior to continue unchecked? As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You can't control whether or not someone apologizes, but you can control your response. You can set boundaries. You can choose to distance yourself from people who refuse to show the basic respect that an apology provides. And you can choose to surround yourself with those who value accountability and growth over maintaining a facade of perfection. In the end, relationships that lack apologies are relationships built on shaky ground. It's up to you to decide whether that's the kind of foundation you want in your life. So, the next time someone refuses to apologize, consider it a warning sign, a reflection of their inability to grow, and make the necessary choices to protect your own peace and self-worth. And remember, no matter how difficult it is to hear, confronting the truth about a relationship, however painful, is always better than living in denial. It's through these moments of clarity that we become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Number 2, no interest in your success. Why is it that some people feel threatened by the success of others? This question cuts to the heart of an uncomfortable reality we all face. How is it possible that someone who claims to be your friend can show no real interest in your achievements? It's a subtle but powerful sign that something deeper is wrong in the relationship. If they can't celebrate your success, they're quietly rooting for your failure. I remember sitting at a dinner party, watching a group of colleagues gathered to celebrate a big project. It was a lively evening at a restaurant downtown, full of animated conversation and laughter. One of the colleagues, let's call her Sarah, had just shared the news of her recent promotion, something she had worked hard for over the past few years. The whole table reacted with excitement and congratulations, except for one person. He was sitting directly across from Sarah, and as the others asked questions and praised her hard work, he stayed silent, barely acknowledging her achievement. I watched him as the night progressed. Rather than engage, he deflected the conversation, shifting it to himself, talking about his own plans for the weekend. It was as if her success was invisible to him, like it hadn't happened at all. The energy at the table was supportive, except for this one glaring omission, his lack of interest. It wasn't long before I realized this wasn't the first time I'd seen this pattern. Whenever Sarah brought up something positive in her life, he would quietly shut down, disengage, or find a way to steer the conversation away from her. The Stoics teach us to be wary of those who undermine our progress, even subtly. Seneca reminds us, a friend should be like money, tried before being required. Genuine friends will support your victories as if they were their own. Someone who shows no interest in your success is revealing that they don't value your growth, and that should be a red flag. A person who can't find joy in your achievements, no matter how small or grand, is someone who is likely threatened by your progress. It's not that they don't care. It's that your success is a reminder of their own stagnation or shortcomings. This behavior isn't just a lack of enthusiasm, it's a sign of deeper resentment. People who feel inferior or insecure will often react to the success of others with indifference or avoidance. It's easier for them to ignore your accomplishments than to confront their own feelings of inadequacy. In the long run, these kinds of friendships become dead weight, dragging down your energy and enthusiasm, rather than fueling your motivation and pushing you forward. Think of relationships like soil. The right friends nurture your growth, providing the support and encouragement you need to flourish. The wrong friends are like barren soil. Nothing will grow there, no matter how much effort you put in. If you find yourself around people who never ask about your successes, who don't seem interested in your goals, it's time to question why you're still investing in that relationship. So, what's the practical takeaway here? When you notice someone showing no interest in your achievements, don't just dismiss it as a passing mood or personality quirk. Ask yourself, is this a one-time thing? Or is this a pattern? If it's time to evaluate the role that person plays in your life, you have to be willing to step back and reassess. Epictetus once said, The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your wins, who encourage your growth, and who push you to reach your potential. And for those who can't, don't waste time waiting for their approval or validation. Their lack of interest is their own problem, not yours. Remember, you can't control how others react to your success, but you can control who gets to be part of your journey. Life's too short to let the disinterest of others weigh you down. Choose wisely and surround yourself with people who will help you build, not those who remain indifferent while you rise. Number 3. Actions don't match their words. What defines a person, what they say, or what they do? This question may seem simple, but it exposes the core of many broken relationships. We've all encountered people who make promises, speak highly of loyalty, and preach about trust, only for their actions to tell a completely different story. The gap between words and actions is where trust dies, and it's one of the clearest signs that someone isn't who they say they are. I once worked with a colleague who seemed on the surface like the most supportive person in the office. Let's call him Mark. He was always the first to offer help, the one who gave glowing speeches about teamwork and collaboration. If you listen to his words, you'd think he was the kind of person who'd go to great lengths for anyone. But I started noticing a troubling pattern. Every time a project hit a snag, Mark would disappear. He wouldn't respond to emails or follow up on the tasks he'd promised to handle. It wasn't just once or twice, it happened over and over again. I remember one situation in particular. Our team was preparing a major presentation for a high-stakes client. Mark had assured everyone that he would finish his part early, giving the rest of us plenty of time to review and make adjustments. But as the deadline approached, Mark's work was nowhere to be found. He wasn't answering calls or messages. The day before the presentation, we were left scrambling to fill in the gaps. Mark showed up the next morning, smiling and acting as if nothing had happened. When someone asked him about his absence, he brushed it off with a casual excuse, saying something had come up, but assuring us it wouldn't happen again. Of course, it did happen again. And each time, Mark had another excuse, another reason why his actions didn't line up with his promises. His words spoke of reliability, but his actions consistently let the team down. This behavior is what the Stoics would call hypocrisy. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The Stoics believed that virtue lies in action, not in words. A person's character is defined by what they do, not by what they claim they will do. Empty words like Mark's are easy. It's the follow-through that matters. And when someone's actions repeatedly fail to match their promises, it's a sign that they can't be trusted. But why is this so important? Because relationships, whether in work or in life, are built on trust. When actions and words don't align, it creates a fracture in that trust. It's like building a house on sand. No matter how beautiful the exterior may seem, the foundation is weak, and the whole thing will eventually collapse. So, what should you do when you encounter someone whose actions don't match their words? First, stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's easy to make excuses for people, oh, they're busy or they didn't mean to. But the truth is, consistent behavior tells you everything you need to know. If someone shows you, time and time again, that their promises are empty, believe them. Next, set boundaries. The Stoics emphasized personal accountability, and this applies to your relationships as well. You can't control whether someone follows through on their word, but you can control how you respond. Don't keep relying on someone who constantly lets you down. Adjust your expectations, distance yourself if necessary, and stop putting your trust in someone who doesn't deserve it. Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. It's a powerful reminder that words mean nothing without action. In your own life, focus on making your actions align with your words. Be the person who does what they say they'll do, and surround yourself with people who do the same. In the end, people's actions will always reveal the truth. Words can be empty, but actions are concrete. If you find that someone's behavior doesn't match their promises, take it as a clear sign that they may not have your best interests at heart. Choose wisely who you invest your time and trust in, because life's too short to waste on people who only talk about what they'll do, but never follow through. Number 4. Joking about your flaws. What harm can a joke really do? That's what we often ask ourselves when we become the target of someone's humor. We brush it off, laugh along, and convince ourselves it's all in good fun. But when the jokes keep coming and they always seem to focus on your imperfections, you start to wonder, is this really about humor, or is there something more going on? I once heard a story from a woman who regularly met with a group of friends at a local bar after work. There was always one person in the group who loved to tease, especially when it came to her. Whether it was about her choice of clothes, her clumsiness with a drink, or even the way she told a story, every gathering seemed to feature a new joke aimed at something personal. The others would laugh, and she'd laugh along too, not wanting to be the one who couldn't take a joke. But over time, something shifted. She started to notice that the teasing wasn't just random. It was always about something she felt insecure about. It wasn't long before those jokes began to affect how she saw herself. Instead of simply laughing, she started to anticipate the next jab, bracing herself for it before it even came. What she once thought was harmless had slowly become something much more damaging. The Stoics teach us to recognize when words, no matter how lightly spoken, begin to shape our perception of ourselves. As Musonius Rufus said, we must become accustomed to hearing ourselves criticized and not be angry or upset, for people are the way they are. The question is, what should we do when criticism hides behind humor? In these situations, the jokes are rarely just jokes. They're tests. A way for someone to see how much disrespect they can slip in under the radar, disguised as playful banter. But here's the truth. It's not about you not being able to take it. It's about them trying to establish control, trying to assert dominance, while keeping the atmosphere light enough that you're the one who looks bad if you call it out. So what's the practical approach? First, take a step back and notice the pattern. If someone constantly jokes about your flaws, ask yourself why the humor always seems directed at your insecurities. Why is it never about your strengths? Real friends don't feel the need to make you the butt of the joke to keep the room entertained. They build you up, not tear you down. Next, make a decision to set boundaries. Stoicism is about maintaining control over what you can, and part of that is controlling how you allow others to treat you. If someone's words cross the line, don't be afraid to say so. You don't need to laugh along or make excuses for them. A simple, "I don't find that funny," can be enough to shift the dynamic. You'll be surprised how often people back off once they realize their behavior isn't going unnoticed. Lastly, recognize when the relationship needs to be reevaluated. Some people hide their insecurities behind humor, but that doesn't give them the right to undermine yours. A true friend doesn't rely on jabs and digs to communicate. They're comfortable enough in themselves not to diminish others to feel better. If someone continues to make you the subject of their jokes after you've set boundaries, it's a clear sign they don't respect you as much as you thought. In the end, we can't control how others behave, but we can choose how we respond. Not every joke is harmless, and not every laugh is innocent. Understanding this gives us the power to protect our sense of self from those who seek to chip away at it, piece by piece, all while hiding behind a smile. Number 5. Compliments that hurt. How can a compliment sting? It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Compliments are supposed to lift us up, make us feel appreciated. But what happens when a compliment feels more like a hidden insult? That's when you know there's something else at play. Sometimes, the most hurtful words are wrapped in flattery, and those kind remarks can reveal more about the person giving them than they do about you. I once heard a story from a friend who was at a family gathering. They had been working hard to lose weight and had reached a milestone they were proud of. A relative, who hadn't seen them in a while, smiled and said, "Wow, you actually look good for once." The words hung in the air, souring what should have been a proud moment. The compliment on the surface was supposed to celebrate the progress, but that last phrase, "for once," took away its meaning. Instead of feeling uplifted, my friend was left questioning how bad they had looked before, wondering if their appearance had been a topic of judgment all along. This kind of backhanded compliment is more common than we'd like to admit. It's subtle, almost sneaky, because it masks criticism in what should be a positive remark. The Stoics remind us to pay attention to intention, not just words. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look beneath the surface, let not the several quality of a thing nor its worth escape thee." Compliments that hurt are a perfect example of this principle. They may seem well-intended, but if you look closely, they carry a deeper, often malicious message, one designed to keep you questioning yourself rather than celebrating your worth. When someone gives you a compliment that stings, they're not building you up. They're subtly putting you in your place. It's a power play. They're telling you that your achievements or qualities are only valuable in their eyes when compared to a version of you that they've already dismissed. The compliment isn't about you. It's about them asserting control over how you see yourself. So, how do we deal with these compliments that hurt? First, recognize them for what they are: veiled criticisms. The words may sound nice, but the intention behind them is not. Just as we wouldn't accept a gift that's half-broken, we don't have to accept compliments that are half-hearted or laced with negativity. Next, take control of your response. When you receive a backhanded compliment, you don't have to let it slide. Respond with clarity. Something as simple as, "What do you mean by that?" forces the person to confront the insult hidden in their words. This doesn't need to be confrontational, but it shifts the power back to you, making them aware that you won't tolerate being undermined, even subtly. Finally, consider the relationship. Seneca wrote, "True friendship is tested in adversity." If someone consistently offers these kinds of compliments, it may be time to reevaluate whether they truly support you. True friends don't need to slip criticism into their praise. They can celebrate your success without undercutting you in the same breath. If someone can't give you a genuine compliment, then maybe they're not worth keeping close. Compliments are meant to build us up, to highlight our strengths and affirm our value. But when a compliment leaves you feeling unsure or diminished, it's a sign that the relationship isn't as supportive as it should be. Think of your self-worth like a structure. It should be reinforced by those around you, not chipped away bit by bit with insincere praise. In the end, you have the power to decide whose words you let in and whose opinions you value. Don't let anyone's hidden insults wrapped in compliments dictate how you see yourself. Your worth isn't up for debate, and it certainly doesn't need validation from someone who can't give it without tearing you down in the process. Number 6, exclude you from plans. How do you know when you're truly being left out and not just forgotten? It's a tough question to face, but one that reveals the reality of many relationships. We like to believe that the people in our lives wouldn't deliberately exclude us, but what happens when the same excuses start to pile up? The truth is often found not in what people say, but in what they don't do, like not including you in plans that seem to come together effortlessly when you're not around. Imagine this. You've been working with a group of colleagues for months, maybe even years. You're friendly, you share lunches, and you've always felt like you were part of the team. One Friday, you see a few of your coworkers chatting excitedly about their weekend plans, talking about a dinner reservation, and maybe heading out to a nearby bar afterward. But something feels off. You weren't included in the conversation. Still, you brush it off. Maybe it was last minute. Maybe they thought you were busy. But later, scrolling through social media, you see photos of the group out together, smiling and having fun. That's when it hits you. No one even mentioned the dinner to you. The sting of being left out isn't just about missing an event. It's about realizing that your presence wasn't valued enough for them to include you. These so-called oversights are rarely just accidents. When people consistently leave you out of plans, it's a subtle, passive-aggressive way of sending a message, one they don't have the courage to deliver openly. They don't want you there, but they also don't want to deal with the confrontation of telling you directly. It's easier for them to hope you'll just fade away, rather than face the fact that they're excluding you. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The more you allow these moments of exclusion to slide by without addressing them, the more you begin to internalize that you aren't worthy of being included. And that's where the real damage begins, not from being left out of plans, but from the slow erosion of your own self-worth. But here's the thing. You have the power to change the narrative. If you keep letting others exclude you without saying a word, you're giving them permission to keep doing it. You're allowing yourself to be treated as an afterthought, rather than taking control of your role in the relationship. So, what can you do? First, acknowledge the exclusion for what it is, a pattern, not a one-time mistake. If you find yourself being left out repeatedly, it's not an accident. It's deliberate. Next, take action. Don't let the silence drag on. Address it head-on. Ask the hard question. I noticed I wasn't invited to that dinner last weekend. Is there a reason for that? It may be uncomfortable, and yes, it might even make things awkward. But it's better to face the truth than to keep pretending everything is fine. And here's the surprising part: when you do confront these situations, dynamics often shift. Some people may get defensive, offering excuses about how they didn't think you'd want to come, but others may realize they've been wrong to exclude you. By standing up for yourself, you force the people around you to take accountability for their behavior. If the pattern continues, though, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. As Seneca said, we should be more concerned with being better companions to others than seeking companions who will flatter us. You deserve to be around people who see your value, who make an effort to include you because they genuinely enjoy your company, not because they're trying to avoid conflict or because you're their second choice. Don't settle for being someone's afterthought. If people aren't making the effort to include you, take that as a sign that you deserve better. Surround yourself with those who will actively make you a part of their lives, not those who leave you wondering why you're always the one left out. Remember, it's better to be alone than in the company of people who don't truly see your worth. Number 7. Busy only for you. How can someone always find time for others, but never for you? It's a question that strikes deep when you realize a friend or colleague who's always available for everyone else is constantly too busy when it comes to you. On the surface, it seems like an innocent excuse. Everyone's busy these days, right? But when someone always seems to be free for others and yet never has time for you, it's a signal that you're not the priority you thought you were. I remember hearing a story from a close friend about a colleague she had known for years. Let's call him Steve. They worked in the same department, shared lunch breaks, and often exchanged ideas. At one point, they even started working on side projects together. Steve was known for being social and always ready to help out, at least with others. Whenever Sarah tried to make plans, though, Steve was mysteriously swamped. She'd suggest grabbing coffee after work, and his response was always the same. "I'm too busy this week. Maybe next time." But then Sarah would see him hanging out with other colleagues after hours, posting pictures on social media of dinners and get-togethers with people from the office. Somehow, Steve always found time for everyone except her. After a while, Sarah started to wonder, was it really just about being busy, or was there something deeper going on? The truth became hard to ignore. If Steve had wanted to make time for her, he would have. The Stoics believed in understanding the nature of people and relationships for what they truly are. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, actions speak louder than words. If someone repeatedly tells you they're too busy, yet makes time for others, it's a clear sign that you're not a priority in their life. And you need to accept that, instead of making excuses for them. Here's the key. People make time for what matters to them. No one is that busy. If they value the relationship, they will find a way to show it, whether through a simple coffee meeting, a message to check in, or just being there when you need them. When they constantly say they're busy, but seem to have all the time in the world for others, they're sending a message. They're just not saying it out loud. What should you do when faced with this realization? First, recognize that it's not about their schedule. It's about their priorities. It's not your job to fit into someone's life when they clearly aren't making room for you. When someone is only too busy for you, it's a reflection of where you stand in their life, not a reflection of your worth. Next, take action. Instead of continuously extending invitations that go unanswered, step back. Stop trying to force the relationship. As Epictetus taught, he who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing. If someone doesn't value your time, don't keep offering it up. Instead, invest your energy in people who genuinely want to be part of your life. It's also worth having a direct conversation if the relationship is important to you. Sometimes people don't realize how their actions come across. You might say something like, "I've noticed we haven't been able to hang out much. Is everything okay?" This opens the door for an honest discussion, where they either make the effort to explain or continue with excuses. Either way, you'll have clarity on where the relationship stands. Finally, remember that friendships, like any relationship, should be reciprocal. It's not just about you reaching out and making an effort. It's about mutual respect and engagement. If someone isn't willing to show up, don't keep giving them opportunities to disappoint you. The metaphor here is simple. Relationships are like plants. They need consistent care and attention to grow. If someone is too busy to water the plant, it will wither. Don't keep pouring into a relationship that only leaves you feeling drained. In the end, it's about recognizing your own value and ensuring the people around you see it too. You deserve to be surrounded by people who prioritize you, not just when it's convenient for them, but because they genuinely enjoy your company and respect your time. So the next time someone says they're too busy, take a closer look. Are they really, or are they just too busy for you? And if it's the latter, it's time to reconsider where you invest your time and energy. Number 8. Avoid physical contact. What does it mean when someone avoids even the simplest touch? We often think of physical contact as a small, insignificant gesture, maybe a handshake, a pat on the back, or even a casual hug. But when someone consistently avoids any form of contact, it's telling us something deeper about the state of our relationship. It's a sign that they're uncomfortable, and perhaps that they don't want to connect with you on a meaningful level. I remember a time when I was at a friend's housewarming party. It was a relaxed evening, and I was catching up with people I hadn't seen in a while. One of those people was a colleague I'd worked closely with for years. Let's call him Dave. We had always gotten along well, at least. That's what I thought. But when I reached out to give him a handshake, he pulled back slightly, offering a half-hearted gesture instead. It was subtle, but I noticed. Throughout the night, it became more apparent whenever someone else went to hug him or pat him on the shoulder, he reciprocated without hesitation. But when it came to me, there was always a distance, an avoidance that made me feel uneasy. It's easy to dismiss moments like this as quirks, as someone simply not being touchy. But when physical contact is avoided selectively, when it's only you they pull away from, it's a clear sign that there's something off in the relationship. The Stoics, who valued self-awareness and emotional control, would remind us that people's actions, not just their words, reveal their true feelings. As Epictetus said, "Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself." The avoidance of physical contact is one such circumstance, revealing a discomfort or even a hidden dislike. So how do you interpret this avoidance? Think of physical contact as one of the most basic forms of human connection. It's a way of building trust, showing warmth, and bridging emotional gaps. When someone consistently avoids it, they're telling you that they don't feel comfortable enough to let you in, even on the most fundamental level. Here's the difficult truth. Avoiding physical contact is often a passive way of signaling disinterest or dislike without having to say it outright. The person may not have the courage to confront their feelings directly, so they create physical distance instead. And while it's easy to ignore these subtle signals, especially if you don't want to believe what they mean, they shouldn't be brushed aside. What can you do when you find yourself on the receiving end of this kind of behavior? First, recognize it for what it is, an indication that something is wrong. If someone regularly avoids physical contact with you but is comfortable with others, it's not about their personality. It's about how they feel towards you. Next, reflect on the relationship. Are there other signs of discomfort or distance? Is this person often aloof or indifferent in conversations? The avoidance of touch is usually one piece of a larger puzzle, a symptom of a deeper disconnect. Once you understand that, you can decide whether the relationship is worth addressing or whether it's time to let go. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control. You can't make someone feel comfortable around you if they don't want to, but you can choose how to respond. You can either address the situation head-on by asking if something is wrong, if they're uncomfortable, or if there's an underlying issue, or you can choose to create emotional and physical space yourself, recognizing that a relationship lacking basic connection might not be one worth holding on to. Relationships are built on connection, and connection isn't just about words. It's about actions, closeness, and the trust that comes from shared experiences. When someone avoids even the most casual physical gestures, it's like a door slowly closing quietly, but unmistakably. Don't ignore the signs. Instead, take control of your narrative and surround yourself with people who are open to connection, who don't shy away from closeness, and who value you enough to not keep you at arm's length, literally and figuratively. In the end, it's not about forcing relationships or physical contact where it's not wanted. It's about recognizing that those who avoid connection in any form are signaling something important, that they're not willing to meet you halfway. And if that's the case, it might be time to walk away. Number 9. Disappear when you need support. What does it reveal when someone vanishes just when you need them the most? This is the ultimate test of a relationship. When life is easy, it's simple for people to show up and share in the good times. But when everything falls apart, that's when you discover who your real friends are. When someone disappears during your darkest moments, it's not just a matter of flakiness, it's a glaring sign of where you truly stand in their life. Imagine this. You're going through a major life challenge, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a serious health issue, or a financial crisis. You've always been the person others lean on, always there to help, to listen, to support. So naturally, you expect that when you need help, those same people will be there for you. But when you reach out, what do you hear? Silence. You see others going about their lives, sharing happy moments, while you're left wondering why no one seems to care that you're struggling. This kind of abandonment isn't accidental. People who disappear when you need them most are revealing a hard truth: they were never really invested in you to begin with. Sure, they were around when things were good, but when the friendship was truly put to the test, they showed their true colors. It's easier for them to vanish than to deal with your struggles because deep down, they don't want to be inconvenienced by your pain. The Stoics were clear about the nature of relationships. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing," reminding us that life is full of challenges, and the people we choose to keep around must be those who are willing to grapple with the hard times, not just glide through the easy moments. Real support means being there when it's difficult, uncomfortable, and even when you have nothing to offer in return. So how do we handle this kind of disappearance? First, recognize it for what it is: a clear message that this person doesn't value you enough to be there when it counts. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but an important one. Don't waste time making excuses for someone who won't show up. They've made their choice clear, and continuing to invest in that relationship only sets you up for more disappointment. Next, take a step back and reflect on the people who truly matter. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and this applies to relationships as well. You can't force someone to care, but you can decide where you invest your energy. When someone vanishes in your time of need, use it as a filter to reassess the relationships in your life. Who has consistently shown up, even when it wasn't easy? Who has checked in on you, not because they had to, but because they genuinely wanted to? These are the people worth holding on to. Here's a practical takeaway. Stop chasing after those who disappear when times get tough. If someone can't be there for you in your hardest moments, they're not a friend, they're just an acquaintance. And acquaintances don't deserve the level of trust and emotional investment that true friends do. You deserve better than to be surrounded by people who only stick around when it's convenient for them. And finally, don't let the absence of support harden you. The Stoics remind us that adversity is a chance to grow stronger. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are." Use this experience to build resilience and to strengthen the relationships that truly matter. Surround yourself with those who don't just celebrate with you in the sunshine, but stand by you in the storm. The truth is, life is too short to waste on people who can't be there when it matters most. The ones who stay, who show up even when it's inconvenient, those are the people who truly care. And when you find them, nurture those relationships. As for the ones who disappear, let them go. They've already shown you exactly who they are. Number 10. Gossip behind your back. What does gossip reveal about the person who spreads it? Gossip is one of the most destructive forces in any relationship. It's like a slow poison, quietly eroding trust while pretending to be harmless. When someone you consider a friend talks behind your back, they aren't just sharing casual stories. They're actively working against you, undermining your reputation and damaging the very fabric of your relationship. And make no mistake, gossip is never as innocent as people make it out to be. Imagine this. You confide in someone you trust, maybe a colleague, a neighbor, or a friend. You share something personal, perhaps a struggle you're dealing with, something that's been weighing on you. You open up, hoping for support or simply to be heard. But instead of respecting your vulnerability, they turn around and use your story as fuel for gossip. The details you shared in confidence begin to circulate, twisted and exaggerated as they move from one mouth to another. Your personal challenges become entertainment for others. This isn't just a breach of trust, it's an act of sabotage. The person you trusted isn't simply venting, they're playing a subtle power game. By spreading gossip about you, they elevate themselves while pushing you down. It's their way of asserting control, of keeping you in check, all while avoiding direct confrontation. They use your vulnerability as a tool to make themselves look better, and they do it behind your back, where you have no chance to defend yourself. As the Stoics would say, actions speak louder than words. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This applies to those who gossip too. They crave validation, attention, and approval, and they'll do anything to get it, even if it means tearing someone else down in the process. Gossip isn't about sharing, it's about control, manipulation, and a deep-seated insecurity within the person spreading it. Here's the harsh truth. People who gossip about others will, without a doubt, gossip about you too. It's a pattern, not a one-time mistake. If someone is quick to share stories about others with you, rest assured they're just as quick to share your stories when you're not around. Gossip reveals a person's true character, and it's not something to brush off or excuse. What can you do when you discover someone has been gossiping about you? First, understand that this behavior isn't about you, it's about them. The person who spreads gossip is showing their own insecurities, their own need for validation. It has more to do with their lack of integrity than it does with anything you've said or done. Recognize it for what it is, a reflection of their character, not yours. Next, address the situation directly. It's uncomfortable, but necessary. You don't need to approach it with anger, but you do need to set boundaries. A simple statement like, "I heard you've been discussing things I shared with you privately. Can we talk about that?" can be enough to hold them accountable. Don't let them off the hook with excuses or brush it off as harmless talk. Gossip is never harmless. Once the issue is out in the open, reflect on the relationship. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and one of those things is who we choose to keep in our lives. If someone consistently gossips about you or others, it's a sign they don't respect your trust. Don't waste your energy trying to change them. Instead, surround yourself with people who value honesty, who protect your trust, and who don't feel the need to elevate themselves at your expense. Gossip is like wildfire. It spreads quickly, leaving destruction in its wake. But you have the power to contain it. Choose your relationships wisely. Invest in those who speak well of you, not just to your face, but behind your back. Because real friends don't need to gossip to bond with others. They don't need to tear you down to feel good about themselves. In the end, gossip reveals the insecurity and lack of integrity in the person spreading it. Don't let their words define you, and don't let their behavior poison your peace. The Stoics believed that virtue is measured in actions, not words. And the people who gossip about you are showing you their true colors. When you see it for what it is, you can make the choice to walk away and surround yourself with those who respect you, whether you're in the room or not. As we've explored today, understanding these subtle signs can transform your relationships and protect your emotional well-being. When you recognize toxic behaviors early, you can make better choices about who you allow in your life. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share this video with friends and family, and hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.